So Nathan, I also thought along those same lines, but then if you actually replace the word science with the scientific method, then don't you think this statement does make sense that the scientific method reveals to us cause and effect relationships using that method, which is a systematic method?
Yeah, that was spot on.
Yeah, so there's no point hair splitting on that part.
No, but they don't want science to be the method. They want science to be a man, a group, an entity, a process that isn't the methodology of cause and effect reasoning based on systematic experimentation. That isn't what science is when people of the Aetherian inclination go out and attack science. What they mean is charlatans who have no evidence claim they have empirical evidence by saying science. They are charlatans and we disagree with them. They don't say that. They just say, science has lied to... No, it hasn't. Men have lied to you. They've used the empirical method to lie. That's science. They've used that by stealing valor when they haven't been through the method. It doesn't mean that science has lied to you. It just means that men have hijacked the method because it offered empirical outcomes when they didn't have one. So it's like saying, I've got a jury result. The man's guilty. How'd you know? He went to court and was found guilty. He was? Absolutely. All right, well, he's definitely guilty then. Okay, on I go with my day. Did you know that Jerry was found guilty in a court of law? No, he absolutely wasn't. There was no trial. What do you mean there was no trial? Someone just told me he was found guilty in court. Yeah, they're just stealing that process to claim he's guilty when they haven't actually put him through the court process. So what, I was duped into thinking he was a guilty man because they used the word court process or the words court process. Yeah, they just said court process when there wasn't one. Oh, I see. So he's not really guilty. They never actually had any proof of anything. They just claimed they had a jury process when they didn't. Yeah, that's right. Well, then we will just attack the jury process. No, you fool. No, they didn't go through the process. The jury process lied. Said he was guilty. No, you fool. They didn't go through the jury process. It didn't happen. They just said they did. That's what's happening, but with science instead of jury process. So they didn't go through the scientific method. No. Science lied to us. No, they didn't go through the method. They'd never had any science. We must attack all science. Scientism. You idiot. No, they were lying. They never had it. They didn't have a trial. They just said he was guilty when he wasn't.
Exactly, Nathan. And the only reason they're getting away with it is because there is so much pseudoscience out there that's claimed to be science. You know what I mean? They're attacking all of science, right? We're realizing they should only be attacking pseudoscience.
We haven't said hello to Arthur, by the way. Hello, Arthur.
Hey, Nathan.
Hello. Good to have you. Gonna hang around for the after show, right?
Yes, that's when
there's one more out.
By the way, I had a message for the Aetherians of India, but we can do that in the after show also.
Tartarians of India?
Aetherians, the ether believers.
Oh, Aetherians. Ah, same difference. Same piss in a different bottle.
Agreed.
Before we do, we still have to address gas pressure without a container.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon? For all the numpties who think the sky is a vacuum without containment?
Well, if you're going to assert that there's an atmosphere that's holding the gas here, that will be calculated from sea level.
They're saying that the gradation based on the horizontal reference to the vertical differential of each gradiated layer, you're going to describe each gradiated atmospheric layer, stratospheric layer, whichever layer you're describing, in the vertical. Therefore, you're going to need a horizontal plane of reference to describe the gradation on a reified sphere.
Absolutely.
So to describe the stratosphere in terms of where it would be at what height, you're going to need a flat plane for that.
Yes, because atmosphere is always with respect to sea level.
To describe where they infer the Kármán line is, would be with respect to sea level.
Yes, that height above sea level is that arbitrary point where they say the Kármán line is and entropy stops taking place. As silly as that is, they're still using a flat plane to calculate that.
Right. Well, isn't that strange? I think we've covered all the housekeeping questions in this hour, and we're very, very close to hitting 100 people watching, which I'm delighted about. Arwin, go ahead.
I was saying. So
Oh, is it you,
I have
Arthur?
an
Sorry.
observation. I have an observation I wanted to share that here in India, I am in many of the WhatsApp groups where they share memes. And of late, I have started observing that many of the memes are flat earth debate arguments, like of sextant and celestial navigation and the black swan argument, or at least very similar to the arguments that I hear in flat earth debate. And earlier, what all used to get shared was how NASA is fooling us and all those 2015 memes. So I don't know if you have observed it on X or Facebook also, but that is something that I have observed.
I see. So you're saying that the reaction, when people want to share their pain through artistic means, they do it through memes. And the memes that people are expressing their pain through are memes related to the arguments that we have put forth.
Yes, I'm so glad to see that.
Well, people are going to share their pain with memes. It's what happens. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say if you are, well, I clear my throat so I can hopefully do the whole outro. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow.
I'll wait. Hello, Arwen. How have you been?
How you doing?
All good, all good. It's time for me to hog the show. And I'll start straight away with the pain of the Etherians. So my original question, my main question is it even worth it to break this argument to the Ether believers as a flat earther? Is it even worth it to get into a discussion on this topic that you are claiming Ether, for which you have no validation? Because what I have observed from flat earthers in India, I have expressed it a number of times on my own channel, but it doesn't seem to make sense to them. So even today, I got a meme. I shared the good news with you that people are sharing our arguments, flat earth debates arguments, which I also present in my channel and keep correcting flat earthers. But the bad news is that the Ether believers are not going away. And I'll just take 30 seconds to read a meme which was shared today. What is the Ether? Question mark. The answer. The Ether is the ever-present field that connects all things. Full stop. Yes, everything is connected. Full stop. Every inch of the ether consists of infinite amount of free energy. This is the elite's greatest secret. If science were to reveal that the ether exists, it would destroy the entire foundation of mainstream atomism and particle science. Full stop. Denying the ether would be like a fish denying that it is surrounded by water. And I'm done. So this last statement, denying the ether, would be like a fish denying that it is surrounded by water. And in my own presentation and here in so many ether roasts that we have had, both in QE's channel and Nathan's channel, what do we always say? That ether is everything and ether is the air. So denying the ether as a human is like a fish denying that it is surrounded by water. So what is ether then? Ether is the air. It is connecting everything. So what do we
But
do with
the
that?
air is not connected.
My question remains the same. Is it even worth it to get into a discussion about ether? I have done it before and it is worthless. They don't seem to get the point. I have tried it through my own channel, but here I am trying it on Nathan's channel. If any of the listeners also listen to Nathan, they would probably get the point.
Well, may I ask the question, do they believe the air is bonded together?
I don't know, man. In my own video, the first slide that I show are 20 different definitions of ether that they have. Ether is an medium, metaphysical medium, and ether is air, and ether is everything. So it is just one of those definitions.
Yeah, I understand that, but the claim is that ether is what binds everything together, right? Is air bonded together?
Not according to me, but I'm not sure about them because they are denying that air is consists of atoms and molecules. Right? Atomism is not true.
No, you're not even going to atomism at that point. Does air fill the available space, or does air is air bonded together? It's not both.
What John's saying, Arthur, is their claim is it binds everything together. Well, to be bound together would mean you were bound. Well, the point of being a gas, the fundamental property of its phase, is that it's unbound.
Obviously, if you inquire whether they are saying that ether is the same thing as the air, they are going to deny. No, ether is more than that. But if you put it into their analogy of a fish denying that it is surrounded by water, in that case, for humans, denying the ether is like denying the air, which is one of the definitions which you always keep hearing, but it is a vague representation. They just say it without even understanding it.
Sounds like meaningless drivel, though.
So my question initially was, is it even worth it to get into a discussion like this?
It's begging the question, Arthur. Hey, everyone. It's begging the question. If you listen to what's actually being claimed concerning ether from Witsit, right, and those who directly follow Witsit, they're all just talking about darkness. That's what they're talking about, the dark. That's why I make the joke. I don't think people catch on to that. They are describing what dark is. So when there's no lights on, it's dark. But the light then comes from the dark. You switch on a light switch in a dark room and it's illuminated. But what got illuminated? According to how they're describing it, the dark gave us the light. So that's what they're actually claiming. The dark is where the light hides in the dark. That's what they're claiming. That's how ridiculous it is.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Yeah.
But do we need another way? Because if you listen to exactly, because I listen to a lot of it. I've listened to a lot of it, and I debated with it twice. I went onto his channel another time in between talking to him about it. Like everything he's describing, all the other descriptions, is like they're trying to describe dark. Because when they try to define light, it's always happening from the places where it isn't. Where isn't light? Dark. You know what I mean? basically what they're trying to claim. Go on, Refracted.
I think that what I was getting ready to say is kind of akin to that. What they try to do is conceptualize nothing, make that nothing the ether, and then they say nothing can't exist, therefore ether. But they've not demonstrated or shown nothing because you can't, and they get caught in that loop.
Well, they beg the question, and they describe dark when they're talking about ether. That's it. They're the only two things they do. They beg the question of its existence, and then they describe, when you ask them about it, they describe darkness. That's what it comes back to. Everything comes back to darkness. Because they're not claiming light is ether. You know what I mean? Dark. Just listen to them. It's dark. The light hides in the dark. That's what they're claiming.
Well, a load of old nonsense. But why? For what purpose? If anybody ever shows me a practical application, regardless of their outlandish beliefs, then I'll listen. But what's it serving? What's the point? Other than some hippy dippy.
They're hiding free energy.
What's it achieving other than some namby-pamby hippy-dippy belief about everything being connected, man? Well, wowee. That's lovely. And?
They're hiding free energy.
Oh, are they?
Also, it's also a great talking point when you're discussing it's like a common ground with the heliocentrists, because they have their space-time, you have your ether, you got a common ground there where you can discuss a place that doesn't exist.
I see. So both have their own version of Narnia, so they get on quite happily.
Well, you can argue about a place that doesn't exist.
You can.
Nathan, it's just a very complicated grift.
Complicated grift.
That's the only way you could describe it. I don't know any other way you could describe it that would be as precise.
So what does this generalize to? Anyone who has a better knowledge of science can educate me about it. This generic statement of calling ether, the first statement was, the ether is the ever-present field that connects all things, all in capitals.
That's a generalized begging the question fallacy.
Yes.
What's a field? What's a field? Like electromagnetic field, electric field, magnetic field?
Well, that's what they're hoping you'll do, Arthur.
Do
Arthur, that's exactly what they want you to ask. Because then any of the lists that you give, they can reify into their nothing that isn't light. It's the presence of non-light that's going to reproduce the light that it's come from, because it permeates through all things, man. But what's that? You ask if it's an energy field. Well, it's all things, so yes. Electromagnetic field, absolutely. Let's waffle on about electromagnetic fields for about 25 minutes. And at the end, just strap on the words, therefore ether. Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, they want you to
did not
focus
even
on
care
words like that instead of focusing on the fallacy.
Hold on, Brian. Go ahead, Arthur.
I'm saying they did not even care to put any adjectives before field. They did not say magnetic field or electric field or electromagnetic field or any other field, just a field. So what's a field? In science, how do we define field? Like they also claim that there is gravitational field. So what's a field?
It's a
That would be
description
defined as
of
influence.
One more time, John.
If you were going to give it a description within, I guess science or the study of electromagnetism, something like that, it would be an area of effect or influence.
An
It's how you
area
would
of
describe a
effect or
field.
influence would be a field. Not bad.
Area of effect or influence. Did I get that right?
An area of effect or influence, yeah. Not bad.
All right.
But if you're saying everything is the area of effect or influence, then you're not talking about anything.
No, now you're getting it. No, it's everything but simultaneously nothing. Don't you get it? I mean, it sounded like you were getting it then, John. And then you went on to say, but that means nothing. Yeah. Like meaning nothing means something. Because you can't have no thing. Really ethereal, man.
Yeah, John, nothing is also ether.
Right. So it's basically like the ultimate argument to ignorance. Everything you don't know is ether.
Yeah, man. It's amazing, isn't it? And that is the reason why they are hiding free energy from you, John. If you could only see it, you could have a taste. Not an actual piece, but a taste of the free energy that's out there, that's being hidden, by knowing that you can't have no thing, that there is no not thing, that is a thing. Therefore, ether.
Right. And the elites know this thing that is an argument to ignorance thing, that if you know it, then it's no longer ether. They know this thing that no one else knows or could know, else it would not be ether. Therefore, we need to figure out what this is.
But they already know. They're just not telling us.
That's
In fact,
right.
they've known forever. What I don't know and can't explain, they have known forever and are hiding free energy with that they know and I don't know and can't explain. But they do know. Free energy being hidden with that.
Don't that make you want to throw up in your mouth a little? Just saying it out loud kind of makes you want to throw up in your mouth a little bit, doesn't it?
I did throw up a little bit in my mouth while saying it. Sorry, Brian, we cut you off for all that.
No worries. No, it's just the very first thing that I focus on is not the word field, right? Just that it's a generalized begging the question fallacy. But then we're back to what's ether? Show it to me. And what can they show you? Magnetism, light, all these other things that are supposedly connected to it. But they can't show you ether. If it's real, it can be shown and demonstrated. Like gravity, is that real? Can it be shown and demonstrated? No. Unless you're talking about specific gravity, which is relative density, which is just a hijack of reality. You know, a hijack of something, because it's even stated that specific gravity, the correct name for it is relative density. Online. So, ether, what's that? What's that going to be? What's ether going to be? Magnetism. That's what it's going to end up being, isn't it? It turns out it was just magnetism all along. You know what I mean? That's just like gravity. It turned out gravity was just relative density all along. You know, a specific ether, they start calling it. It's nonsense. Like, they wanted to get into the dangle of what this word means. And sure, that has to happen at times, I get it. But it comes back to either you're going to show us this or you're not. And they're not, because it doesn't exist.
So basically for the ones which... I'm sorry. So basically the ones which make sense to me on a very basic level are magnetism and magnetic field and electric field. And for both of these things, at least you have to get something in the physical level in order to generate a field. For a magnetic field, you need to have a physical...
Hold on. You're going to be shocked by this. But there are already masses of information on magnetic fields and electric fields. They're really well studied and they are not ether. They are magnetism and electronics.
Yeah, so I was getting there. That for electric field, we need to have actual electricity through a wire or through any other conductor. And for magnetic field, you need to have an actual magnet. But for this field, which has no adjectives, it's just a field, there is nothing physical required.
But that would be a magnetic field as opposed to an ether field.
Ether is the ever-present field.
Oh, I see. So if ether is everything, and then I talk educatedly about magneticism, then ether is magneticism because ether is everything, and I've just talked quite educatedly about magnetism. Therefore, free energy being hidden. Gotcha. All makes sense.
Well, let me tie this to the debate and how it works. If you're a heliocentrist, okay. Well, so there's this ether field binding everything together. That's how we're able to breathe in a space that gas could fill, but it isn't because the ether is holding it here.
What is ether again?
Well, it's the soup that the planets flow through,
When you say holding, how does that relate
Ether
to?
was invented by fusions.
How does that relate
Ether is.
to unbonded gases? How's it holding them? Whatever it is that hasn't been defined yet.
Atmosphere, man. It's stuck to a ball, and the ball's like going through a area that it could fill if not for the ether.
Okay. I mean, at this point, if I was to point out that you're going to need a flat plane for that won't phase the Etherians one bit, will it? Well, yeah, of course you will.
Right, yeah, because they already have the inertial plane in their descriptions, yeah. So, yeah, that
Description?
won't bother a flat Earth theory. Now,
Description
if
of
you're
what? You say they've got the inertial plane. What to describe the universe? But how does that relate to ether? If they're describing the plane of inertia, for what?
Nathan, please let me share my video. Would you please
Yes, stick it
share
in Master B.
slide?
Yeah, stick it in Master B and I'll play it.
just real quick to explain that, what they had is it's a toroid based on a flat plane that creating the North Pole, and like it's going out, and then they assume there's like a negative counter space to that below it that's doing the opposite, creating this other toroid below it.
Hold on, you're describing what a magnetic field would look like, and when you say negative counter space, you mean like the negative pole of a magnet and the toroidal field it would create.
Very similar, yes.
But with a nothing that isn't describable and simultaneously permeates everything, bonds everything, and is everything, but also nothing, but nothing is something, and it is also ether. That is described as a positive and negative counter space, akin to and identical to in description, a magnetic field. Correct?
If only you would say that with more confidence, people would believe you.
Oh, you see, you mean instead of saying it with disdain and a frown that's like, what the hell is this nonsense? If I was to say it with an upward inflection, like the negative toroidal field of the counter space, then suddenly people would give me what, Bitcoin and money and accolades rather.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the way you're saying it. It's you got to say it like it is there. You know it's there. You're describing it. Why aren't people getting it?
Oh, and question why you aren't understanding what could be phrased with disdain as a question about how nonsensical things are sounding, and just, like I say, positive upward inflection, giving it the, yeah, we definitely do have counter space creating a negative toroidal field. Also, please smash the super chat, give me money, and, we'll get our way to the free energy eventually.
Please check
Right.
Master B.
Well, you can't have the positive without the negative, man. For this positive toroidal field that's generated that our compasses rely on, there has to be a negative.
Ooh, that sounds
See,
great.
There is
So,
no push without
Is
pull.
that something that my audience could be perhaps helped with influencing? I mean, maybe I could help them influence it, that negative field. We obviously have an influence over it. It's permeating everything and bonding it all together. Therefore, if I can help you, Etherian in the making, with your influence over the negative toroidal field, we'll all be on our way to free energy pretty damn quickly. I'm going to need money to do this, though. Let's be clear.
Right. Scientific discovery is not cheap, guys. Please smash that super chat. Help
Sorry,
out the
somebody over my
Patreon.
shoulders telling me that
All
science
that.
needs a method or something. Shut up, scammer! So anyway, we're going to be finding out the science of ether pretty soon, and we're definitely going to need funding. And anybody who says that science requires a method, they're just scammers. Just understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
And science, the body of science has known this for ages. Right. They've known it. This body of science.
Yeah, and they're the ones
Hidden.
hiding it from us.
Hidden.
Really, we should fight against that body of science because they're really the enemy. Science is the enemy strictly because they're the ones hiding this free energy. Science has basically cheated us all. Just the enemy.
Free energy.
In one of the modern day debates, a Glober says, we have scientifically measured it. Now, can someone figure it out for me, please?
Sorry,
Scientifically measure something.
You
So
can't
that's a
scientifically
contradiction in
measure.
terms. That's a category error and a contradiction in terms. Measurement.
It's
you mean
actually,
like maths.
it's actually, it's an attempt at the hijack of valor. When you say the word scientifically measure, those two words, because all you're doing is measuring something, yeah. Well, you say scientifically measure, it's like as if you're trying to hijack the valor of actual science, isn't it?
Yeah. It was adding more kudos. Or if you feel that you haven't done good enough measurements, you can decry your own measurements by saying you haven't done scientific measurements of stuff. It's just a rough idea, just a rough baseline, not scientific in any way, but here are my measurements. Or if you've taken really good measurements and a lot of them, then you've done science. These are the scientifically validated measurements. None of it's
So
science.
one of
Rubbish.
the
Maths.
one of the statements in my same definition of ether was, if science were to reveal that the ether exists, and I have heard enough QE to question this statement that science does not deal with the existence of things.
Yeah, again, a reification of science being an entity that can reveal things. It's the man behind the cloak, the door, whatever you want to call it. It's like, no. Science is a method for elucidating the cause of an effect that you've observed in nature, aka a phenomena. That's its purpose, to elucidate cause. What's that? If science revealed the ether? No. What science can do is validate the cause of an effect you observe. So in order for it to be in any way science, first you must observe an effect. So, Etherians, what effect are we observing? Roll on the hippy-dippy, la-di-da nonsense that makes absolutely no sense and certainly won't provide you with phenomena to study.
Well, their answer is going to be
I also
that
thought
you're
about
observing
it,
the
but
ether. Just 1 second.
yes,
Their
so
answer is going
Nathan,
to
what
be...
you- yes, please go ahead, Nathan. Brian, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Adam. Their answer is going to be that you're observing the ether. Your ether is the effect and the cause. You understand?
No.
That's what they're going to like. I know you're sorry.
fantastical concrete noun at best. A fantastical concrete noun. What's happening?
Yes.
In physical reality, what's happening? Oh, well, nothing. It's the permeation and the toroidal field of the counters. Sorry. What is happening? That's what we're going to study. The thing that happens, we're going to figure out why it happened. That's science. Not Well, it's the underlying ethereal undertow of the universe that we know when binded through a toroidal field. Get lost! Show me something happening and I'll study it with science. If you can't show me anything happening, there's nothing to study.
Well, it can be even more vague, Nathan, where they will say that you're observing the ether, you just don't realize you're observing the ether. That means the effects you're seeing are ether effects, but you don't realize they're ether effects because you don't understand the ether. That's what they'll tell you. Literally, that's what they'll tell you.
So Nathan, I also thought along those same lines, but then if you actually replace the word science with the scientific method, then don't you think this statement does make sense that the scientific method reveals to us cause and effect relationships using that method, which is a systematic method?
Yeah, that was spot on.
Yeah, so there's no point hair splitting on that part.
No, but they don't want science to be the method. They want science to be a man, a group, an entity, a process that isn't the methodology of cause and effect reasoning based on systematic experimentation. That isn't what science is when people of the Aetherian inclination go out and attack science. What they mean is charlatans who have no evidence claim they have empirical evidence by saying science. They are charlatans and we disagree with them. They don't say that. They just say, science has lied to... No, it hasn't. Men have lied to you. They've used the empirical method to lie. That's science. They've used that by stealing valor when they haven't been through the method. It doesn't mean that science has lied to you. It just means that men have hijacked the method because it offered empirical outcomes when they didn't have one. So it's like saying, I've got a jury result. The man's guilty. How'd you know? He went to court and was found guilty. He was, absolutely. All right, well, he's definitely guilty then. Okay, on I go with my day. Did you know that Jerry was found guilty in a court of law? No, he absolutely wasn't. There was no trial. What do you mean there was no trial? Someone just told me he was found guilty in court. Yeah, they're just stealing that process to claim he's guilty when they haven't actually put him through the court process. So what, I was duped into thinking he was a guilty man because they used the word court process or the words court process. Yeah, they just said court process when there wasn't one. Oh, I see. So he's not really guilty. They never actually had any proof of anything. They just claimed they had a jury process when they didn't. Yeah, that's right. Well, then we will just attack the jury process. No, you fool. No, they didn't go through the process. The jury process lied. Said he was guilty. No, you fool. They didn't go through the jury process. It didn't happen. They just said they did. That's what's happening, but with science instead of jury process. So they didn't go through the scientific method. No. Science lied to us. No, they didn't go through the method. They'd never had any science. We must attack all science. Scientism. You idiot. No, they were lying. They never had it. They didn't have a trial. They just said he was guilty when he wasn't.
Exactly, Nathan. And the only reason they're getting away with it is because there is so much pseudoscience out there that's claimed to be science. You know what I mean? They're attacking all of science, right, without realizing they should only be attacking pseudoscience. And they're denying actual science, and they're attacking the scientific method, etc. When what they need to be doing is attacking those who don't use scientific method. And they're not doing that. They're attacking us for using scientific method, and then attacking pseudoscience, and trying to say all the science is backward and wrong. Will they promote a load of pseudoscience?
Exactly.
So they're no better than the people they're attacking.
Just as a moment of clarity, you got to remember, we're talking to people that are arguing with us that heat is causing the water to boil on our stove.
Yeah, we're dealing with dumbos. A better example would be Judge Dredd, right? The implication of Judge Dredd is that the judges in that narrative represent the law. They represent the process of going through a jury trial without one. They are the law. But they're not. They're fallible people. So when somebody gets arrested by Judge Dredd and thrown in jail immediately without trial, he is the judge in that instance. Right, gets it wrong. But when someone asks, why are you in jail? Well, because you went through the entire jury process. You went through a court trial, didn't you? Yeah, I did, yeah. How did that go? Well, it involved one man saying, I am the law, and then he put me in jail. There was no court process. But we understand that a judge means court process, doesn't it? Yeah, you said judge, that means court process, yeah. Well, likewise, you said science, didn't you? Yeah. Well, that means scientific method, doesn't it? Yeah, they definitely went through that, yeah. They said science. Oh, right, okay, so we're all cushy then. Because they said science definitely means the empirical method, doesn't it? Yeah, definitely. Even though Judge Dredd didn't give him a jury trial, even though they didn't go through the method. So let's attack the scientific method then. Let's attack the jury method then. It's just like people are thick.
And we are talking about flat earthers here, the creme de la creme among the normies of the world. They are also dumb fucks.
No swearing. Flat Earth has been pitched at numpties and conspiratards. That's how it permeated its way into my life as I looked at conspiratorial subjects like subliminal messaging and psychopathy. Some subjects attract conspiratards. They are but a few. There are others like Mandela effect, like Aether, like Tartaria, like clone centers, like reptilians. There's a whole bunch of subjects that have been subtly attached to Flat Earth when it first made its way into YouTubeism. That's how you would have found your way. So what type of person will gravitate their way to Flat Earth? Weirdos, conspiratards, and numpties. That is who the Flat Earth believers are. Now, over time, we have separated ourselves from these complete idiots, and now we find ourselves realising how not only the Earth is flat, not by way of our own stupid belief, but a matter-of-fact measurement of the place we inhabit, and how that matter-of-fact measurement of the place we inhabit has been used to make a globe for the rest of the numpties to believe in. That's where we're at. We are so far detached from what has been stereotypically formulated to make what is a flat earther a flat earther. It's untrue. We're so far removed from that now in 2023 that we bear very little resemblance to your average flat earther now. None of us do. To the point where we find ourselves arguing with flat earthers as much as the globers do. Because we see them as stupid, just for very different reasons.
Hey, Nathan, there's no better time. I'm sorry, Brian, but there's no better time for a confession as well as a testimony. Because I used to be all those things, all those labels that you said, alien believers and ether believer, and almost all of those things in around 2015, 16. And then in 2017, I became a flat earther. And then slowly I got to know about Nathan Oakley and the flat earth debate. So right now I'm grounded firm in not just the flat earth, but I have gone beyond that, which many of the people here in the panel also haven't done, is to find firm grounding in the Bible. I'm sorry to bring it back again, but you discussed it during your live show also. So it ties back. Right now I'm grounded, but I used to be all of those things which you just said.
Well, the engineered paths to this subject have alongside that path lots of fast food restaurants serving the feast of nonsense menu. And when you finally get it, you're going to be so overgorged with garbage of flat earth, it's not a surprise that the back route that led you to the main road with all those feast of nonsense flat earth garbage restaurants on it were conspiratorial roads. You know, it's been engineered that way. It is no surprise that I had Math Powerland play to me on autoplay after watching stuff about subliminal messages and psychopathy. It was primed by YouTube to be exposed to the numpties of the world, ready for it to be ridiculed when they said stupid crap based on the nonsense they were fed on the path that they took to Flat Earth. Feast of nonsense garbage got regurgitated for years and years and years till enough damage was done, and then they shut it all down, pushed it to the bottom of the lists, and let the anti-Flat Earth retain the top spots. That's how it's been done. That is the story of Flat Earth.
Sorry, I thought you were finished.
No, that was it. I'm done.
I'd have to disagree with you only a little bit, though, only on one point. I think the big difference was they realised in late 2018, early 2019, hang on, these people might actually have a point, right? They realised not every one of the people involved in this arena that we've been promoting on YouTube and that. I think the likes of YouTube and that realised, hang on a minute, these people are actually making an argument here. Like conspiracy nuts don't make arguments. They just make conjecture that may or may not be real, and people can believe in it or not believe in it, or argue with it or not argue with it. But you can't argue with perpendicular, for instance, right? Can't be argued with. Horizontal plane can't be argued with. It's like certain things you cannot argue with. How an airplane flies can't be argued with. How celestial navigation is done can't be argued with. Things like that. And suddenly they realize
geometry in general is hard to really argue. It is the way it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is. So consequently, I think they got to a point in 2019, because you have to remember, there's no guarantee that the likes of the top brass of YouTube actually realized, hang on, the Earth might actually be flat. I don't think they even you could actually describe it as flat. Let's just say, to be more precise. So when I think it got to a point when they realized, hang on a minute, we need to put these people back into the bottle. You know what I mean? That we created and gave to them because they're making an argument here. And now it's that our opposition has no argument. Not that we were making an argument a few years ago. Our opposition have no argument, which means we won outright.
Right.
And that's why they stopped us in 2019, because it started becoming obvious that these people are not they're not all just a bunch of conspirators.
Well, they don't have arguments that aren't based on the presupposition that the Earth is a sphere. To them, that is normal, and they want that to be normal. It isn't technically normal, and we break that spell. Right? We are basically undoing the culture of presupposing the Earth is a sphere. That is what we're really doing. It's not even pointing out that the Earth is flat. It's pointing out that everybody's gotten used to presupposing the sphere and that's okay. That's the main mission,
yes.
To snap people out of that subconscious normalization.
Yeah, I mean, mostly I get attacked a lot of the time by the opposition saying, you're always attacking the globe. Why don't you give us some flat Earth evidence? They're always at this, right? It's like, the whole point is that, like, because they want me to make a claim that they can then try and attack, right? And when I do make a claim about anything to do with proving the Earth could be a horizontal plane, like with airplanes or something, they just abuse me. You know what I mean? They don't have anything. You know what I mean? So the thing is that mostly what we do point out is how it's not a globe. It's not a heliocentric globe. That's it. No, mostly. But we don't even have to even give a flat Earth proof. We could just go around debunking the globe and still prove basically the same thing. You know, it would be the implication, or, you know, the outcome would be, well, in that case, it has to be, there's no curvature can be measured. No 8 inches per mile square drop can be measured anywhere. Sea level is, you know, mean sea level is a horizontal. You know, all elevations are taken from mean sea level. That means the underlying baseline, the underlying baseline of the whole Earth is a horizontal plane. You know, things like that. Well, we don't even have to claim the Earth is to be flat or described as flat, or we don't have to do any of that. All we have to do is keep showing how it's not a globe. You know, but that's all we ever really had to do. But it's also nice to show how it's definitely a horizontal plane. Well, a description of that,
Right.
maybe not a perfect horizontal plane, but horizontal basement.
Well, the thing is, their descriptions rely on that as well, pointing that, like, you can debunk their claims, right? Because there is no physical geometric obstruction that we call the horizon. But you can debunk that claim, and that's one way to go about it, and that's an awesome way to wake people up. But you could also point out, like you just said, that even their assumption about a physical geometric obstruction requires sea level to be a horizontal plane. It's both ways are equally valid, whether you're debunking or pointing out that they need a flat Earth for that, proving a flat plane.
Right, but in reality, the shape of the Earth, or what the surface, the Earth being flat, is kind of trivial in relation to the psychology of the ball and how it's basically a self-suspending in disbelief religion that is based on perpetuating for yourself ignorance in order to maintain the belief of it. That's the real big challenge. I mean, once you snap people out of that and make them see that, then the Earth of being flat is like, oh yeah, sure. It's not that complicated. It's really getting them over that threshold of stopping to perpetuate that self-reinforced delusion. That's the hard part. And simply saying you're going to need a flat Earth for that, they won't even get that. They just won't understand it. They won't be able to follow.
Well, I think
I don't know about that.
I'll go after John.
I was just going to say, I don't know about that from my experience. When they realize they need a flat plane, they run away.
Right.
From my experience.
But it doesn't stick then. Right? I'm not talking about debate situation. I'm talking about actually waking up for themselves and just telling a globe believer, like, oh, you're going to need a flat Earth for that. They're just like not going to listen. Just like, whatever.
Well,
right?
What's actually
it works
what
once you
important?
step out of the dream. Then you can actually show that. Did you realize that everything that you believe is all designed based off a flat plane? It only works after they snap out of it. Otherwise, they're just not going to listen.
Well, the bigger, 1 second. Excuse me. The bigger thing that's after happening is that our opposition have become the crazy people. And we're being seen as the same people. You go back to 2015, it was the complete opposite way around. We were being seen as the crazy people, and our opposition were being seen as the same people. But anyone who comes into the arena or ends up being any part of it at all, regardless of the feast of nonsense that's out there, flat earthers still look more sane than the opposition. Because the opposition are claiming all kinds of crazy nonsense now because they have to. You know what I mean?
They rolled out confessional debate.
Yeah, exactly. It's gone the opposite way, in my opinion. Sorry, John, I know you want to say something.
They're just making it more and more crazy as to make it easier for people to enable themselves to stay in the dream and not snap out of it. Because that's really the objective for the anti-flat earthers. How do I tell a story that for those who want to believe the globe, it'll assist them in defending against snapping out of it? That's really what it's all about.